In the next few minutes, we're going to learn some quick techniques to brighten a person's eyes and teeth in a portrait. We'll start with the teeth. I'll tap the L key in order to select the lasso tool, and I'll make a quick selection here around the teeth. Now, her teeth are pretty bright, but we'll just lighten up just a wee bit and maybe remove just a little bit of yellow from these teeth. Now, you'll notice that I didn't go down into each one of the gums, and that's because I'm going to use two different adjustment layers here. The first adjustment layer that I'm going to select is going to be the hue and saturation adjustment layer. And instead of affecting the master, I'm going to limit it to the yellow color range. That way, when I move the saturation slider to the left to desaturate, it's not going to affect the reds. Now, if I want to soften the edge of that mask, in the Properties panel, I click the mask icon and then add a slight feather. If I want to reuse that selection, on the Layers panel, I can Command-click on the layer mask. That will load it as a selection. And now I can add the second adjustment layer, which is going to be Curves. And I'll just lighten her teeth a wee bit. You don't want to go too far, so I'll just back off on that. Again, if I want to add a little bit of a softness to the edge, I'll click on the mask icon and then add a little bit of a feather. All right, with the lasso tool still selected, I'm going to make a loose selection of the eyes here. So I'll select the white portion on the left side, hold down the Shift key in order to add to my selection, making sure that you don't go into the corner of the eye because I'm going to desaturate and brighten this area. And you don't want to desaturate this area here or the person's going to look a little bit unhealthy. So come over to the other eye and just again making a selection here while holding down the Shift key in order to add to the selection. If you accidentally select too much, you can hold down the Option key and then subtract from that selection. All right, from the Layers panel, I will click on the Adjustment Layer icon, add a Curves adjustment layer that turns the selection into a mask, and just increase the curve to brighten the eyes. So again, we don't want to go too far here, but if you brighten the eyes, it can tend to make the person look just a little bit more awake and aware. And that's what I'm interested in, is just giving the person a little bit better night's sleep. The nice thing about adjustment layers is that if I go too far, I can always back off on either the adjustment or the opacity of the layer at any point in time. All right, I'm also going to quickly dodge and burn around the irises. So at the bottom of the Layers panel, I'll select the Curves adjustment layer again. Now I haven't made a selection, but I'm just going to lighten the curve. We can see that affects the entire image, but I'll fill the mask with black by using the keyboard shortcut Command-Delete to fill with my background color. Then tap the B key to select my paintbrush, use the left bracket key in order to get a smaller brush, set the opacity maybe down towards 20% by tapping the 2 key, and then I'll just paint in the iris area here. In order to increase the contrast, I want to make this area brighter on both eyes, and then we're going to add another Curves adjustment layer and make the edges a little bit darker. So in the Layers panel, we'll add our final adjustment layer. Again, we'll add Curves. We'll bring the curve down. We'll fill the mask with black using Command-Delete or Control-Delete on Windows, making sure that we're painting with white. I'm going to paint with a little bit smaller brush this time, just around the edges of the iris here, darkening it down. I'll go to the other eye. I tend to be a little heavy-handed at this, so it's always nice when I think I've got it right to zoom out. I'll use Command-0 and then toggle on and off these layers. So that's a very subtle change. I don't think I want to lessen it anymore, so I'll leave the opacity at 100%. If it was too subtle, I could always duplicate that layer using Command-J in order to double the effect that I've done. But I don't want that, so I'll use Command-Z in order to undo it. All right, let's take a look at the before and after. I'll hold down the Option key and click on the eye icon next to Layer 0. So there's before and there's after. We can see that I've just brightened the teeth a little bit, as well as the eyes. And that's a quick way to brighten eyes and teeth while retouching a portrait in Photoshop.